Okay, let's explore reality, shall we? Okay, here we go. So, when I was at Naropa back in the 90s, one of the teachers from the Tibetan lineage shared a story with us about the Dalai Lama. He mentioned that the Dalai Lama had a very favorite teacher when he was a young boy, and he was living in the temple and learning all the ancient ways and being nurtured and supported and mentored to ultimately become the spiritual teacher of the Tibetan people. One day he and his favorite Rinpoche were in meditation together. And by the way, Rinpoche is a term of endearment for their teachers that actually means precious one. It doesn't actually mean teacher, it means precious one. And he was sitting with his favorite Rinpoche. They were meditating. And during that meditation, the Rinpoche, who was the current spiritual leader of the Tibetan people until the Dalai Lama would grow to adulthood, this Rinpoche, he had a vision. And in the vision, the Chinese were attacking Tibet, killing Tibetans and overtaking the country. And he could see that they were looking for the Dalai Lama, the future spiritual leader, and they wanted to assassinate him, to eliminate this whole lineage. When he had this vision, he knew it was a real and true vision. And so he made arrangements to help the young Dalai Lama, who was 15 years old at the time, get out of the country, out of Tibet. And this was going to be a journey over the mountain on horseback. And he was going to be leaving his home and his people and going over the mountain to India, to Dharamsala, India, where he would be safe and out of harm's way. After this travel happened and the Dalai Lama was safe, the Chinese did, in fact, invade Tibet and kill many Tibetans and tear down temples and overtake their country. And they took the beloved Rinpoche prisoner and put him in a Chinese prison to use him as leverage to try to get to the Dalai Lama. And he was in the Chinese prison for years and years and years. Very long time. And all kinds of diplomatic efforts were being done by India and America and other European countries to try to persuade the Chinese to let the Rinpoche go, and also to persuade the Chinese people to let the Tibetan people have their country back. As the years went on, through many different diplomatic efforts, they finally convinced the Chinese to release the Rinpoche from the prison. And the Dalai Lama was at the airport to greet his beloved Rinpoche when he came off of the plane. And there was this beautiful reunion and hugs and tears. He was so happy to see his beloved Rinpoche after all these years. And he, in this embrace, asked his Rinpoche, Rinpoche, during your time there in the Chinese prison, was there fear? The Rinpoche replied, yes, there was a fear that would arise. The Dalai Lama asked him, what was the fear that would arise? He replied, the fear that would arise was that I would lose love and compassion for the Chinese. Wow. This is our potential. I realized when he shared this story that this was revealing our potential as beings. The Dalai Lama went on to ask him, well, did that happen, Rinpoche? Did you lose love and compassion for the Chinese? He put his hands together in Namaste Mudra at his heart, and he said, luckily, no. Wow. Wow. The one fear that would arise for the Rinpoche while in the Chinese prison is that he would lose love and compassion for the Chinese. He knew if he lost love and compassion for them, then he would actually be in prison. Prison of the wanter, wanting it to be different than it is, wanting them to be different than they are. He would now be in prison as long as he didn't lose love and compassion for them. He was never actually in prison. He was liberated in the love that we are, in the heart of being. Now, of course, the Rinpoche, the whole time he was there, would be doing his practices to stay aligned. And when the fear would arise, he would face it. And of course, he was doing the Tibetan Buddhist version of the loving blessing practice, and his version of the name that thought practice, and his version of the living practice, whatever those would be for him. This is our potential as beings. We can let the love that we are be liberated, even toward those who overtake our country, kill our loved ones, tear down our temples, take us prisoner, put us in a prison cell for years. He never lost love and compassion for them. This is our potential. What we also found out in the story is that the guards overseeing the Rinpoche in the Chinese prison, after some amount of time, they would become so fond of the Rinpoche that they would start hatching escape plans for him to try to help him escape. And the people in charge of the guards, who were in charge of the Rinpoche, would find out about these escape plans, and they would discipline the guards and bring in fresh rough and tumble guards to overlook the Rinpoche. And as time would go by, they too would fall in love with the Rinpoche and try to help him escape. So the leaders of the guards realized they had to, on a very regular basis, change out the guards. Otherwise, they would be so touched by his kindness, his compassion, his love for them, that they would want to try to help him escape. This is our potential. We are beings whose very nature is absolute unconditional love. Now, we're in a current time of history on earth where it can be difficult to let the love that we are be liberated when we feel that things don't turn out how we would like them to turn out, or we feel that we've been wronged, or justice hasn't been served, things like this. Our wanter and our problem solver mind can easily assert themselves and can overtake us, and we become captured and imprisoned in wanting things to be different, resisting and suffering, we can be like the Rinpoche. We can let the love that we are be liberated toward everyone and everything at all times. This is our potential. And when we are like this, it has an effect on the field that we're all in together. And eventually, inevitably, the love will be liberated in all beings. Satguru Maharaj Ki Jai.